And we are back for another episode of Nine and Numb at Home. This is a very special one because we have got former cast members from the Nine and Numb Fargo troupe from 2004 to 2008 or so. How we doing, guys?
Good.
Great.
Woo! Man, I haven't seen some of you guys in years. It's been a while. I'm glad to see everybody's okay there. That's good to see. Who we've got with us right now is I have got Mr. Matt Kelly is here with us. And Matt, say hi to everybody if you could.
Hi, everybody.
Okay. Just like that. We've got Bill over there. Bill, say hi as well.
Hello.
Awesome. And, of course, we've got Max with us.
Hey, everybody.
Great to hear. We've got a couple more that may be joining us or not. We'll find out as we go on here. But I just want to take this opportunity to just have a conversation. We'll just talk about the old days. As people know, this is the 20th anniversary of Nine and Numb. We started 20 years ago this year, and we've been going strong for 2 decades now. And we're going to be revisiting former casts that were around throughout those 2 decades. And this is our first with a former cast. So let's just hang out and have a conversation. What do you say?
Sounds great.
Awesome. Well, first off, I want to ask, how have you been? I haven't seen you in so long. What has everybody been up to? Matt, what have you been up to?
Oh, everything. Lots of stuff.
Everything.
Yeah, theater's been crazy. Have my own theater company with
Nice.
Max.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Also running our own, officially part of a troupe, an improv troupe, for about 10 years.
Oh, wow.
I was one of the founding members for that one.
Okay.
Max is also now part of that as well.
Yeah.
I could talk for you.
They're great.
What's the name of that? Give it a shout out. What's the name of that troupe?
Last Action Movie.
Last Action Movie. Okay.
We do genre-based improv with actual fight choreography, and we got trained in fight, like hand-to-hand combat, some stuff, things like that.
Really?
So we, instead of doing like the goofy, I'm going to slap you from across the stage kind of stuff, we actually will take a swing at somebody and knock them in the face, and do all that.
It looks
fun.
good.
It looks really good. And we
my
do.
God. And this is in Minneapolis, right? This is in the cities?
Yeah.
No
And,
kidding.
We started with action movies, and we've moved on to several other genres. And right now, our main thing is we do action heists and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like, what was the name of a movie I just watched? Thief by James Caan. Probably not something you're doing, but that kind of movie where you're doing, yeah.
The stereotypical heist movie, yes.
Right on. Ocean's 11, that sort of thing.
Yeah, actually closer to something like that. Where it's we do a lot of time jumping, so there's a play with time with it. Is crazy.
Okay. Nice. Bill, what have you been up to?
We've been trying to do some improv up here in Fargo still. I was in a group called Fargo Improv.
Okay.
That was going pretty well. And yeah, I was in the National Guard after I got done with Nine and Numb, and I went
Really?
Yep.
You went into the National Guard after you were with Nine and Numb?
Yep.
No kidding. Oh, that's interesting. Jeez. With the North Dakota National Guard or Minnesota? Or?
North Dakota National Guard.
North Dakota National Guard. Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah, no problem.
That's amazing. Yeah, not a problem. Yeah.
No problem. It was great.
Nice. And Max, I know that he had mentioned that you guys were involved in a couple things together. Is that pretty much what you've been up to, or what?
That is correct. Yeah, no, I've been heading down to Minneapolis, getting involved with the improv community there.
Okay.
We been in a couple different groups, added to obviously Last Action Movie, but been involved in some other smaller improv projects as well. Just trying to do theater and have a day job every once in a while, stuff like that. That's about it.
I think I saw a few years back you guys were involved with a improv restaurant, if that's right.
Yeah.
Yes and Food, I think is what it was called, right?
Yeah. Yes, we were part of there was a gentleman who was part of the improv community, and he wanted to create an improv like dinner theater up in northern suburbs of Minneapolis, so not Minneapolis proper.
Gotcha.
hit up there. Conceptually was great. Execution was not great,
Well,
unfortunately, and it fell apart. It kind of imploded on itself.
restaurants will do that on occasion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep a business like that afloat, and then you add in an unknown element like live improv. That can be, I can only imagine. So, but what a great idea, though. What a great idea. I would love to see something like that here in Florida. I think that would be really neat to watch, I would think.
I think it would do quite well.
Well, yeah. Very cool. That's great to hear. So let's talk a little bit about the history of Nine and Numb Fargo, how it came about, how you guys got involved. Now, if I remember correctly, I think you guys were in a troupe called Chaos at North Dakota State University. Is that right?
That is correct.
Tell me a little bit about how that got started.
I don't know the history of that one. Before I was in school there was that troupe already existed.
Oh, okay.
And I know that it had a weird split, and the troupe became two troupe. It was weird drama that went through it, and I don't even remember all of it.
I know a little about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that in particular, but our own situation with Nine and Numb had that happen. Yeah.
Yes.
I can sympathize.
Like when I got there, they were just kind of still picking up the pieces. So I just wanted to do improv when I first came there.
Sure.
ESU, and started working, just trying to run the stuff that I had learned up to that point, and kept working that way until met these two other individuals here.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you were doing stuff out at Gonzaga before NDSU, right, Matt?
Yeah.
Was when I was at school at Gonzaga, I was part of the theater program out there, and I worked with their improv troupe called, at the time it was called Guts. I don't know if it still exists. And then later on, a group of them started making comedy sports, the official comedy sports out in Spokane. So I got my training through them and through that, and through Gonzaga as well before coming to NDSU, and then joining Chaos. And then trying to rebuild Chaos into something that wasn't just this mesh of drama and unfortunately, at least one other individual that was going to join us tonight was there before I was.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
so it was a cool learning experience of trying to not start something, but work with something that's established and learn while teaching and learning to play. Yeah, it was interesting.
Now, you had a bit of a history with Commedia dell'arte, if I remember correctly, yes?
A little bit. I learned a good number of commedia stuff out at Gonzaga. Since then, I've done a lot more, actually, in Minneapolis. We used to do World Commedia Day for several years running. Sure. I had a couple people I worked with here. There's several people here that are from Del Arte School in Chicago, so they have a good background in it as well. I know Max participated in some of our commedia stuff up here. So yeah, I mean, in fact, the room I'm sitting in right now has masks on the opposite wall. One of our good friends, directors, he's still in Italy teaching circus and learned his professional commedia, dell'arte, stuff like that.
Bill's got one there. He's got it hooked up, though. He's trying to grab it. There we go. Oh, man, look at that.
You got it, Matt.
Nice.
Wow. Look at that.
We put it on our lamp that was facing the outside window. It was. Yes.
So, yes. Bill, why don't you tell us, how did you get started with all of this improv stuff? How did you get started?
My friend Chris Zinnial, yeah, he and I were a team in high school. We did a lot of speech events together, and he came out to NDSU before I got here, and then he said, "Hey, there's this improv thing going on. You should check it out." And I did, and they hooked me.
Well, there you go. Nice. And Max, how did you get involved with all this?
It's going to be a pretty similar story to what this young man Bill just told us.
Yeah.
I was a student. I was from the Minneapolis area where I grew up, and I was coming out to Fargo, and I checked out a show from earlier. Matt alluded to another group that had some drama that created a split from Chaos. I think I went to one of their shows, And I remember the story very vividly because I saw the improv and I said, you know what? This seems like a lot of fun. I'd like to get involved with it. And they went, we're not taking new people right now, but there's another troupe here called Chaos. Love to have you. And I went, well, that sounds like a lot of fun. So I started doing it just kind of as a hobby, if you will. And let's see, let me look at my watch here. About 18 years later or so, I'm still having fun, still doing it. So
no kidding.
It was a very simple beginning, but I enjoy it. Yeah.
Well, now I'm trying to remember here. You got to forgive me. I'm over 40, so my brain.
It was a while ago, Kelly. You're just
but I'm trying to remember. I believe what happened is I had heard. Now, Nine and Numb had already been running in Grand Forks, North Dakota, from 2000 onward, and we had also experienced our own situation like that had split off and stuff. And so I went looking for an opportunity because we had sat down at a troupe and said, you know what, look, we need to start moving into larger markets, doing more things other than just Grand Forks. And I said, well, I've heard there's a group in Fargo because for the longest time, Nine and Numb was the only improv troupe in all of North Dakota. We were the only one. And so I had heard about this group in Fargo, and I said, okay, well, here's what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to drive down there, and I'm going to go to one of their practices. I'm going to go say hi and introduce myself and see how this goes. And I went and I saw you guys practicing, and I cannot remember where the heck you guys were practicing at. It might have been on campus.
I remember exactly. We were we were at the theater department's main auditorium. I just had, and we were doing practice in the main auditorium. Usually we're in like a side studio,
right?
Where our practices were, but in this case, we were in the main auditorium for like one practice. And I think it was you and a couple other Nine and Numb members walked in.
Yeah.
And that's where it all came to be. We were like,
yeah,
who are these? We're here.
Well, we sat down and watched you guys play for a little bit and had a little bit of a powwow together. And I just turned to them and I said, you know what? Instead of just, saying, hi, guys, we should consider bringing them on board. Because they're that good, is what I had said at the time. I said, these guys are that good. We should really consider expanding the family instead of starting another troupe. Because my original goal anyways, was to start a whole new Nine and Numb in Fargo and have a satellite troupe that I was going to build from the ground up. And we were going to come in and play every now and then in Fargo. But then I was like, these guys are already here and they are really good at what they do. And so after a little while, I remember we invited Chaos to come and perform at the Red River Comedy Jam that we had set up at the Empire Arts Center. That was the first of 3 years, I think we did that. And you guys knocked it out of the park. And that's when I just went, okay, that's it. I gotta make an offer on these guys because they're too good to have around. Because number one, they're competition. And two, they're just that good, and I'd rather have them around with us, just hanging out and what have you. And so that was when we had that discussion about, hey, how would you feel about joining the Nine and Numb family and helping us to expand across the state here? And thankfully, you guys didn't turn me down flat, thank God. And yeah, so then that ended up moving on from there, and I think you guys were still doing shows as Nine and Numb. I think you had your first one at NDSU.
Yes.
If I remember correctly. And then we moved you over to, because I had a conversation with the fellow that ran, what the heck was the name of that? Courtney's.
Courtney's, yeah.
Courtney's Comedy Club in Moorhead, Minnesota, just across the river from Fargo. And had a conversation with him at the hotel there. And then we got you guys in there. And you guys started playing there. If I remember correctly, you guys played there for about a year.
Yeah, we did a weekly show there for at least a year. Yeah,
something like that. So tell me a little bit about what your experience was like. How did things change once you became part of the Nine and Numb situation here versus Chaos, and then just for the Nine and Numb story, so to speak.
Sure. From my point of view, it was it didn't feel like we were considered a college troupe anymore, which makes it a whole different ballgame once we're starting to cross that level of like, okay, are we doing this just because we have spare time at school, or are we doing this because we want it to be something more than what we're in that college group. So it definitely, in my mind, put a legitimacy on it of like, great, here we go. Let's start trying to make this a real deal, the real thing. Who knows where we're going to be in such a period of time and all that. But for right now, you never know. This might be something much bigger than what it currently is. So it felt like a legitimate it made it better.
Words and more words.
Words hurt.
How many of you were there in the beginning? I want to say you had damn near 9.
We had pretty close to 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Something like that. There are folks that I have not seen since 2004 that were a part of that. I won't mention names now just because I haven't talked to them in 16 or more years. But, yeah, it was just fascinating to see what kind of dynamic you guys had in those days. What was it like working with each other on stage and the way your dynamic worked? How would you describe your dynamic?
That's a good question. I think, well, I think for us, just going back to the Nine and Numb thing, I think when we joined Nine and Numb, we had more of a professional attitude, which then pushed all of us to try to do better, I think. So in that, with the dynamic, it was like, how should I put it? It's like a group of people that you really trust a lot, because we were all very close friends when we were in Chaos. Like that's, you know, it was a good camaraderie. And then to put on the idea of like, okay, now let's try to go out and get some professional shows and really create this to be something bigger than just like a group of friends at college, I think was like, it put our dynamic to just like, I guess, hungry. I don't know if there's a better way to put it other than that.
That's a good word.
Yeah.
That's a good word.
Yeah.
I will say this. For the experience of Nine and Numb Fargo, it was profound upon me as well. In that you guys were the very first troupe that I had ever attempted, successfully or otherwise, the first troupe I ever attempted to manage versus actually direct or be an actual part of linked tightly. That was the first time I ever tried to actually expand things a little bit, and it changed me from a performer to a producer in that moment in my life. And that was right around the same time we started doing Rocky Horror as well and letting that get off the ground. So for better or worse, I cut my teeth on becoming a producer with you guys. And you are also the first troupe I had ever seen in my professional career go from this level as actors and performers, this level to way up here. You guys had grown so much in such a short amount of time that it was just astounding to me. And you guys had done that basically on your own. Quite honestly, you had guided yourselves to that point. When you talk about the hungry aspect of it, it showed on stage. And I remember having conversations with our other troupe members in Grand Forks. They would ask, how's the Fargo troupe doing? What's going on down there? How are things working business-wise, et cetera? And I say, you guys, we have to go watch them. We have to watch them because they have gotten to be so damn good at what they do. Their characterizations, their organization on stage is outstanding. And it was an eye-opener to me to see how a group begins itself and then where it goes from that point. It was just amazing watching you guys grow like that. To this day, I've never seen a troupe do that as fast as you guys did.
Yeah. I think we took a lot of initiative in learning and being curious about what we could explore with formats. We went out to Chicago that summer for the Second City summer intensive, and
I remember.
That's something I'll never forget. That was a heck of a good time.
Yeah. Second City is a whole other world, man. I was there back in the 1990s before I had started with Nine and Numb, and they have a totally different attitude there about everything. It opens your eyes so much. But you were going to say something next.
Oh yeah, no, I think I don't know if looking back on it now and just thinking about the history and all that, since you came up with this idea to have this episode, I can't think of, like, I don't know if I would be as capable to do those things when you talk about the growth and the characterizations and things like that. Like, when I first started doing improv, I had no experience doing it before. And I don't know if I could have done it without, like, people like Matt and Bill and Chrissy and everybody. And obviously we got a big boost with Nine and Numb coming into and helping us out. Like, I don't know if I would have just gone to like Chicago and done like some fun with Second City, like that trip we took. I don't know if I'd have done any of that kind of stuff. So I think is what I look back with, and just seeing, like, because we really if we would have only known each other for like a month, I don't know if we would have been able to make it work the way that we did. You know what I mean? Like, I think because we had such a deep friendship between all of us that we could do that kind of thing and just go straight from, like, you know, us hanging out at college to like going right into that Nine and Numb kind of professional attitude was just like, ooh, that was way too tough. But I think I think of the reasons how we could accomplish that. And I think of the other people, you know, I think of everyone else that helped me like fail so much to learn how to do it right. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. So,
yeah. I have a memory of when Second City had their touring group came to NDSU one year, and you guys wanted to open for them. And you gave me a call, Matt, if I remember correctly. You gave me a call on my cell phone at the time and said, hey, look, they're coming to town. Do you have any contacts to see if we can, you know, get on stage with them? And at that exact moment, I was standing in the offices of Second City in Chicago at that moment, ironically enough. And I was standing there talking to the manager at the moment, and I just went, hold on just a second. And I just put my hand over the phone, like, you're not going to believe what's happening right now. I said, your touring group is going to Fargo. And she's like, yeah. I said, well, I've got a troupe in Fargo. Well, can they open for them? And she said, well, we don't really allow people to open for our groups. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I remember that. And she said, but have them show up, and maybe, you know, we can have a meet and greet afterward, and we can work with them and do things like that. So it just so happened to be I was standing just out of the blue when you called me on that one. I'm in the main office next to the box office at Second City, just reminiscing about being there and stuff. And I was like, whoa, what the hell are the odds of this? You know? So, yeah, I remember that. That was a lot of fun, that moment right there, because she was laughing along, too. She's like, did they know you were here? I'm like, they had no idea I was in Chicago right now. So
we were like, hey, let's give it a shot. Throw up a Hail Mary.
It's a damn good thing you called me right when you did, because I was getting ready to leave and go have lunch across the street. But I was like, I'll be damned, I'm standing in the offices. So that was a lot of fun. So do you guys have any stories or anything that you'd like to share about your time within Nine and Numb when you were doing this stuff in Fargo and in Fargo, and just some of the shenanigans that happened, you know, just the good times, the things you remember the most? Max is kind of smirking because he knows we remember some of those parties, some of those moments backstage. This is a safe space. You can say if you want to. It's fine.
We also don't remember some of those things too.
Yeah.
Well, I remember Rocky
Isn't that
Horror.
the truth?
Yeah. Rocky Horror had some pretty good memories. In that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You guys were involved with the Rocky Horror cast for a number of years. Max, I think you played Rocky a couple of years in a row.
I did the first year we did it, and then I let Chris Zaniel have it the next year, I believe. And
that's right.
Which I was then entrenched in the role of Eddie. That was my.
You were Eddie, that's right, and Dr. Scott.
And Dr. Scott, yes.
And Dr. Scott. God damn, that's right. Matt was our Frankenfurter.
Yes, Matt was a fantastic Frankenfurter.
Yes, he was.
I enjoyed watching him do his magic all night. It was great.
Bill, did you play Riff Raff in that, or?
Nope, no. I was never a character on stage. I was always helping up front or behind the scenes or something.
Okay.
Or just hanging out.
I thought I had a memory of you actually on stage doing stuff.
Nope, not.
Okay. Did you do tranny maybe, or?
No, I don't think so.
I'll be damned. I don't know why I'm remembering that.
Huh.
Yeah.
I remember the year, Matt. I remember the year, Matt, when you were playing Frankenfurter and you came to me a week before the show with a cast on your arm.
Yep.
And I'm panicking. I'm going, why the hell are you wearing a cast? And you said, I slipped while I was walking up a set of stairs holding a keg.
I was sober as could be.
And your arm went through a window or something? Tell me more what the hell that was all about.
I was at my cousin's birthday, and when I got there, they're like, hey, our second keg is there. No one can really drive. Are you able to go pick it up down the street? I'm like, great, yeah, I'll go pick it. So I drove, went, got the keg, brought it back, and me thinking, oh, this is not that bad to carry up a flight of stairs. I carried it to my car. I can do it. 16 gallons, whatever.
Whatever.
Deal. Take it up the flight of stairs, and the guy behind me is like, well, I'll grab the door. I'm like, okay, so I'll move out of the way. He goes to open up the door, and I lose my balance, and my arm flies into the fire extinguisher glass.
Oh, that's what it was.
And I go and I put the keg down. I'm like, great, I broke glass. I should go check that out. Goody. I go over there. I'm like, okay, nothing there. I'm looking at my arm. I'm looking at my jacket because it sounded like my elbow went into it. No cuts, no nothing. I go back into the room in the keg, and there's like drops of blood leading up to the keg.
Oh,
I'm like,
God.
what's going on? Some girl points at my hand and like does a weird muffled scream thing. It was really odd. I had sliced my left index finger knuckle in the glass, and it cut through the tendons. Or I'm sorry, it cut through one tendon and partially through the second one. So I had to get full like surgery on the knuckle to get, and yeah.
Holy
so
shit.
I think I hadn't had the surgery yet because they couldn't do in the emergency room, so I had to schedule it a few weeks out. And by the time I might have had it during either right before the performance or during Rocky Horror. I can't remember.
The cast?
No, the surgery. I had it during.
Oh, the surgery.
You did have the cast on during the surgery, because I remember we had to take our assistant director and one of our costuming ladies take you downstairs into the dressing area and figure out a way to make it not look like you were wearing a cast. So we had to cover that in material and then match the other side for the glove as Frankenfurter.
Yeah.
So that you just looked like you had Popeye arm on one arm. And then the other one. And meanwhile, I'm upstairs. I'm like, oh, my God, you know. And, oh, yeah. I also have a memory, this is Rocky Horror related, of Max getting ready to play Rocky.
Yes.
And you guys...
During I think it was during like when we were first showing ourselves in our costumes.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember this very vividly because I was putting on, so I was, obviously rocking the gold Speedo that I think Christy painted with gold paint. It was just a regular Speedo, but painted gold. It was so awesome. And I think you looked right at me at one point when you were looking, went, Max, I can see everything.
Yeah. You came out of the dressing room and my face just drained. I was like,
and I was like, wait, what? You see it all? Oh my God. It was so.
But then you guys ended up having a session.
Huh? Yeah.
Yep.
It was pretty bad. It was pretty great. I enjoyed that. I still remember that story very vividly. And you just, without, and you did, it was just like tearing off a Band-Aid for you, Kelly. It was just like, there's no way I can say this without making Max, feel awkward. So let's just say it. Let's get it over with. It's all good. Max, I can see everything that you're working with right now.
Exactly. So I think my exact words, now that I'm remembering, I think my exact words were, oh, it's true, you are Jewish.
Yep, very true. No doubt about it.
Then you guys went and you guys had a waxing session?
Yes.
Oh,
tell me about that.
The waxing party. Oh, my God.
Yeah, so we decided to, even though we didn't really need to, because if you watch the movie enough times, you notice that they are fully, there's no waxing.
Get out of here. Yeah.
Rocky being the only one that would have been waxed. We decided, fuck it, let's try it. Let's just do it. Because the costume was a little itchy, and like the fishes were like tearing and itchy, so it was just easier to do that. Let's just do it all. Let's just do it. So we decided to get a little inebriated at my place and decided to do the waxing. Not realizing you should like trim a little bit before you wax, just so it's not fully length. It hurt. I was bleeding.
Yeah.
Got lucky, bastard. They ended up just shaving him.
And the worst part about that whole process is that when you have alcohol in your blood, it does a worse job of clotting. So like our skin just bled so much more than if we just would have done it regularly. It would have been so much easier. But we just decided, you know what, let's have a big party. And it was a very good time.
But whatever. I made a great memory.
God, that is so funny. You guys told me about that. I'm just sitting there oh, no. You did not. Really? Oh, no. Oh, God. See, I think back on some of those after parties we used to have, not just for when you guys were doing Rocky Horror with us, but just also for the improv stuff, were quite possibly some of the wildest freaking parties that I was in a fraternity in college, okay? And so...
yeah.
Some of those parties were absolutely nuts. One comes to mind, without mentioning names, of course.
Sure.
We were in Wahpeton, North Dakota.
Yeah. Yes.
We were doing a show out there, and we ended up in the hotel later. And I'm grabbing another drink at this point, because the whole troupe we're all stuffed into one hotel room.
Yep.
And I'm grabbing a drink, and I turn around, and the door is closing to the room. I'm like, oh, what happened there? I guess they decided they're going to go out and get something or something. And all I hear is this thump, 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 thump down in the hallway and giggling. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And so I open the door, and what do I see? I see like 3 or 4 of you completely nude, running up and down the hallways of the hotel.
Great. Yep.
Yeah.
One of you, I can't remember her name, but one of you was yelling, Nine and Numb! As you're going, I'm going, oh, God, great. Wahpeton is never going to have us back now because of this. And so, yeah.
I think that was the trip that I got the speeding ticket on the way in to the show. And it's so funny because one of the members looked at me because they knew I was driving, and they said, okay, Max, when you go into Wahpeton, they will pull you over if you're going over the speed limit. To which in my great hubris, I went, yeah, okay. I mean, I'll go. I won't go crazy, right? And sure enough, I'm driving, and I think I'm going, I don't know, maybe like 62 into 55. I remember the math. It was 7 miles over. I don't know what the speed limit was.
Yeah.
But there was a cop that was on the other side of the highway, came through the ditch, came up and pulled me over and said, do you know how fast you were going? And of course, like a very smart, intelligent young man, I told him I was going about 7 over. He goes, yes, you were. Can I have your license, please? He issued me Now, in North Dakota, the fiscal fine is $5 for every mile that you were over the speed limit. So let's do the math, kids.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the math. $35 ticket to go through the ditch, to come pull me over for going 7 miles over and giving the state of North Dakota $35.
Yep.
We need some crime in Washington or something. I don't know. Give these guys something else other than, that's 7 miles an hour. Remember your training. Let's go.
Remember your training.
What? Yeah.
Oh, God. See, and just a few miles over the river in Minnesota, if you go 1 mile over the speed limit, you're getting 100 and something easy, if not 300 in some places.
Oh, yeah. No, it was too bad. Oh, hang on a second.
Yeah.
Hang tight. I'll be right back.
You got it. So, there are so many funny stories associated with the after parties that we can't even discuss here. That's how far off the grid some of those went. And you guys remember you were there. But I just remember Matt's place being the party central for us.
That was the party.
Your apartment, and then you have the second apartment downstairs underneath your apartment, which is where you kept all your Legos. If I remember correctly, right, Matt?
Oh, you're talking about when I had the apartment, and then my partner at the time had the apartment below.
Yes.
Possibly.
Yeah. That was where we used to, well, for lack of a better word, sleep it off.
Yeah.
Was in that room. And if if I had $1 for every time I woke up in that apartment wondering where the hell I was and how the hell I had gotten there, I would have a lot of money right now. And yeah, no, we used to throw down. Now, do you guys remember when we decided we were going to do our first mini tour where we were going to hit? What's that?
Is it the Winnipeg trip or is it something else? I'm sorry.
It is. Well, the Winnipeg trip was the last part of it. This is where I decided, in my infinite wisdom as a 20-something-year-old moron, I thought, let's go on a tour, but let's not hit the big cities. Let's only do extremely small towns.
Oh, yeah.
Because how funny would that be?
Yeah.
We're doing Park River, North Dakota. We're doing, what the hell was it, Pembina, North Dakota. We're doing these tiny, middle of nowhere places where they've never had live anything. Yeah, really little. We're talking about they have one bar in town and we were it.
We were it.
And the shit that we did on that particular trip, and then that ended going to Winnipeg, crossing the border into Canada, and the shenanigans that ensued in another country for that.
But the story that I have from Winnipeg, is it involves you, Kelly, but it's to me it's the
Go ahead.
It's the tone for the full trip. So we were trying to find we got this huge room. It had like 3 beds, 2 couches, like gigantic, and we were trying to find cabs to go into town.
Right.
Hannah! And so we were trying to find cabs to go into town, and you, Kelly, were like, well, why don't we just get like a taxi van, right? Like a van. We all pile in and we go, and we start calling around, and we had this was back when we had things called phone books, right? This was a while ago. So you're thumbing the phone book, and the first company you call, I just remember I only heard your voice, and you just saying, yeah. So I was just thinking about, if we could get like a taxi van, that'd be great. Well, your country's stupid. Click, right? Right? Because on the other end, they said they didn't have taxi vans in Canada. It didn't appropriately replied, well, your country's stupid. Click. And so from that point on, anything we did that was a mild inconvenience in Canada, we went, well, Canada's stupid. And we just would turn right? And it just set the tone for the whole rest of the trip. Just that one-sided phone call. Yeah, can I get a cat? What? Well, your country's stupid.
That sounds par for the course for me in my late 20s. That sounds real par for the course, actually. I think yeah. Oh, my God. Yes! How you doing? You are being recorded at the moment, just reminding you that we are on an episode of At Home with Nine and Numb. Right now, this is a very special Fargo episode, yes.
This is awesome.
Yeah, so this is going to be on YouTube. I'm just warning you now.
That's okay.
So, all right, just letting you know. Let's see. Let's discuss right now how your philosophies on improv have changed over the last 16 or so years since we've done Nine and Numb in Fargo. How your philosophy towards performing and studying even improv, how that has changed a little bit. Anybody want to take that one?
Sure.
Go ahead, Max. Yeah.
Okay. So in Fargo, we were very focused on doing a lot of short form improv, which is lots of fun. And then in the move to Minneapolis, long form was very popular there in the Twin Cities area. And so for us, I think just finding that switch to be able to not only learn how to do more long form, but also to do short form improv still, because they have a comedy sports here in the Twin Cities. So there are people who are apt to it, but it's so interesting. And then I think actually Matt in Last Action Movie, the original members were part of a big push to do genre-based improv, which became very popular, to be a part of that time, to establish things like Last Action Movie, but also a couple members of huge theater in the Twin Cities came up with something called Poiv, which was like a film noir improv group. So it was becoming very popular, and it was I know that that's become a little added thing to the improv scene. So just kind of learning and changing our minds to different styles and approaches to improv. So I guess that would be just staying, just learning how to adapt to circumstances around you. Boy, does that sound familiar, right?
Right. I think was it Dudley Riggs was kind of the guy who really got that stuff started out there. New something or other theater. I can't remember what the heck his name was.
Yep. No, the Brave New Workshop.
Brave New Workshop. That's what it was with Dudley Riggs. I know that he was kind of a pioneer in the cities out there that had started that sort of scene. And
he was with Del Close back in the day too. I mean, he worked with Del Close.
Sure.
As well.
In the Twin.
Sure. That's
so,
cool.
No, but I think just the philosophy is that it's just how should I put it? In terms of the way I've seen it, at least established, is that now you're not just learning about the idea of improv, but you're learning about the process of delivery, right? So that you have a brand and a message on point to bring to people that are your core audience members. I think is something that when we first started was just like, let's just try to figure out what improv is and have it so that we're not just completely terrible at it, right? But then as time went on, you learn improv not only through the practice of games or structures, but you also learn it through genres and styles and things that you like, and giving it a chance to be presented. And I think that's kind of where it's changed. It was just focused on like, look, can we just get the basics and have a show where people think we're funny? I'd like to do that. Let's do that, and then we'll go from there. So
moving on from that sort of thing. Yeah. Matt, how's your philosophy changed in any way?
Well, it's gotten a lot more clear because it definitely feels like, when you're even when you've been doing it for like 10 years, you feel like you're kind of still walking through this mud swamp of gup, and you feel like you have those moments where you're like, oh, clarity, got it, and then it disappears, and you're like, why? Fuck, here we go. Oh shit, so it's just you're still in that slot for so long, and then the more and more you study it, the more and more you do it. It feels like at this point now that I've been doing it about 20 years, the clarity is a lot there. It's just different, and now like, let's fine tune it. How do we take this and make this, find all the intricacies in improv beyond all the basics you learn, everything, even the advanced techniques you learn. How do we interweave those? How do we make it look so smooth in our performance and in our rehearsals that the audience can't tell that it's all made up. We're all working at full speed, and it's no longer we're not trying so hard on stage. We're just engaging with each other and enjoying the story, the adventure. What are we going to do next, kind of thing. And like now that with Last Action Movie specifically, the idea that we're doing theatrical improv rather than we're doing an improv show for the next 25 minutes and we're going to tell you jokes and we're going to say things and people are going to have fun, where we're now so focused on, here we have this story about these people doing this thing, and I have an audience member in the front crying because they're watching this person's loved one die before this guy goes on a killing revenge. It's having that emotional reaction with the audience, which is more gratifying than just that laugh, just that moment of glory on stage. And just the thought of like, I just need that emotional connection with the audience. Because even if they don't laugh the entire show, and Max and I have done shows with Last Action where no one's laughed for like 90 minutes. Walk out and they're like, that was amazing. I love that story so much. I don't even know, like, they're so entranced. They were so in the moment with us that it's almost that feeling like I forgot to laugh, even though I thought it was funny. But I was just, I wanted to follow where you guys were going. I wanted to see what you were doing on stage. And those moments for me have been much more gratifying and engaging and interesting to see that, like, I can create something like that with everyone else on the stage just by on the moment going and trying, and it's an amazing feeling and a new look on everything. Very much different than the short form, very much different than the Well, and again, there's nothing wrong with either thing. It's just
Sure.
completely.
Sure. I know when it comes to my personal philosophy, I know that I believe I did say this to you guys because I've said it to every troupe that I've been a part of up to this point for Nine and Numb in particular. When I first start them out, the first thing I tell them is all of this training is leading to one thing: finding the truth.
Yeah.
Of any scene. All you do is just find the truth. We can go through technique after technique after technique, but at the end of the day, what you're really doing is just finding the one thing about the moment that you're in that is real, and then just grab onto it and write it the whole way through is how I've been able to describe that to people as well. Now, Bill, you have said earlier on in this episode here, you said that you were still trying to get improv going in Fargo. How is the scene there in Fargo right now? How are things going down with improv?
As far as I know, it's pretty dead up here at the moment.
Okay. Okay.
All it takes is a couple good college teams to come through, and it'll be a banner year. Then we'll have 4 more troops again. And that's
it goes in waves, doesn't it? It goes in waves.
Yeah, because when Nine and Numb was doing it, there was another group from, MSUM that went down to the cities. Eventually. Yep. And then Max and Matt went down the cities, but I stayed up here, and I did it in a couple troops up here, and it's it goes in waves, but I imagine another 5 years we'll have some more improv going.
Well, that's good to hear. I like to hear that things are can still be done up in that part of the country. I for the longest time had kind of abandoned North Dakota. I had because I got caught up in the idea of I've moved away now. Mm-hmm. I got caught up in that idea. And then years later, I restarted Nine and Numb in 2013, I think it was, in Grand Forks. And they were running for a few years up there at the Fire Hall Theater, I think. And then that fell to the wayside because a lot of them weren't from North Dakota in the first place, like a lot of you weren't. And they just kind of, when they graduated college, they just kind of went off on their own way. And then I wasn't able to get involved too deeply with the audition process and what have you, because I was working at Busch Gardens and stuff here in Tampa. I had my own thing going on. And then when I heard that they completely disbanded, I was like, okay, I get it. I'm sure something will come up in Fargo or somewhere again. And now that I'm talking to you, I'm hearing, yes, there is a possibility that it'll come back. And that is great news.
No, it will. It's inevitable. Fargo will always have improv at some point.
Good. That's good to hear. I like Fargo. I do like. There are some things I'm not a fan of with Fargo, but for the most part, I like Fargo, and it's got a unique culture there in Fargo, in particular, where on one block you're going to see guys who just got out of the woods hunting deer, having breakfast, and literally just a couple of feet down at another restaurant, it's a vibrant art scene, that has awakened in the last couple of years there. And that's what kind of gets me about Fargo. And so I'm very happy to hear that you're at least plugging away at it and trying to get it back. And I wish you the very best. And God, if you get anything rolling at any point, I'll try and show up in October and come and see you guys at any point. Okay. That I can.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Anytime. I know that there was another troupe up there for a while that I thought about going to see, but then they disbanded before I was able to actually walk in the door. But yeah.
That might have been me. I don't know.
Oh, really? Okay.
It might have been, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I remember I was sitting in my parents' living room in Grand Forks, and I was reading a High Plains Reader, I think it was. And I saw there was an improv show coming. I'm like, well, shit, I'm going to go and check them out. And then before it even got to the show, I think it was like canceled. And I went, oh, okay.
Huh.
And then I didn't go. So I don't remember. It was at a bar somewhere down there. But anyway, yeah. So now, Bill, has anything changed with your point of view on improv itself since you've done improv with Nine and Numb?
You posed that question, and it was kind of something that I hadn't really thought about in quite a long time. And looking back from 2004 until now, it's quite daunting to think about, honestly.
Yeah.
All the changes that I've gone through, but I think if I had to say anything about what how I perform, I perform out of fun I like to have fun. I like to find a character, find out who they are, and then if the emotions come, they come, and I try to allow them to be there. That's all I've ever really done with improv.
Yeah.
It's my core improver.
Right on. What I remember from you in particular, Bill, as a performer, was you were the guy that I could always count on to have the one-liner that came out of the blue with you. I remember doing scenes with you, and you would be there in the scene with us, and you were doing the right thing as an improver. You were giving and giving and giving the spotlight to everybody else, being a good team player, and then just out of the blue, one-liner would show up and would floor me. I would lay on the floor damn near laughing because I'm like, where the hell did that come from? Yeah, that is one thing that I remember about working with you, Bill, was that you had a one-liner ratcheted up and loaded and ready at any moment that would just floor the entire room.
I don't know if it was loaded up, but it was there.
It was there. Yeah. It ended up showing up in one capacity or another. That's awesome. Yeah. And Max, I always knew I could count on you to come up with these characters that were just so over the top perfect for the moment. Mm. And you did because I know that you work in psychology, yes?
So that was my original background when I came involved with the troupe.
Right.
I eventually moved on to try to focus more on theater, but I still academically got my minor in psychology. So trying to tap into that process, just the way people think and little mannerisms and things, just kind of leading the way towards a broader picture was kind of was my approach in the beginning. So
right.
Obviously with theatrical training now, it's a little bit different just because I've received so much of it. But but with that background, that was very helpful in the beginning.
You had a very scientific method that I could see you going through on stage. I could see you dissecting your motivations as a character in the moment. I mean, we're talking milliseconds worth behind your eyes. And you had a process that I thought was just fascinating because I also come from a psychology background only in that my mother is a doctor of psychology. And so that is how I had always approached character work myself. But watching those gears going behind your eyes there in just a couple of milliseconds, and then snap, you had a character, and then off you'd go with it. It was just fascinating to watch that. I always appreciated that about your performances. They were very well thought out. Even if it only took a few milliseconds, you had it locked in, and then you committed. Yeah, and that was always nice to see that. And then with Matt here, especially, Matt with his background in comedia and you took a very artsy approach to things, if I remember correctly. Yours was very free flow, very free form, very if it happens, it happens kind of thing. And that was also equally fascinating to me because if I was ever in a scene with both Max and Matt and then Bill in the background as well as the fourth wheel on that one, I had to try and navigate what was trying to anticipate a little bit on where things were going. I would think, okay, Max is committed to this character. He's going to see something in the character that I'm creating, and he's going to counter that in like 2 seconds flat. Matt is going to come out of left field. Whatever he's doing, he's going to show up. He's going to immediately land on the floor and start like grabbing my leg or something. So I got to be watching for that. And then somewhere in all of this mishmash that's going to happen, Bill's going to show up and level the room. And so that was how every scene I ever did with you guys went, was that way. And then we would have other players as well, and their dynamics would show up. You'd have Chrissy, who is unfortunately not joining us tonight at the moment. Chrissy had her own process going as well, and I knew that was going to be another thing to draw into. And that was something that I found so unique about Nine and Numb Fargo, is that each individual player on there, despite having these extremely strong differences in philosophy as performers, still clicked, still connected so strongly. And so that's a memory that I will always have about Nine and Numb Fargo, is that it was this collection, this tight collection of totally different individuals that still made this beautiful mosaic, is the best way to describe it, I think.
Yeah, we were. It's funny, if you looked at us as individuals, we'd be kind of a motley crew. But when we came together, the bond, the friendships, they showed right through, because it's one thing to have a group of people that you're trying to impress. Again, I can't stress enough. But when you're just so comfortable, right, that you can, when you have a group of people that you just trust to fail, there's just this feeling that you can't mess it up, right? And exactly. I think with all of that, I know just for me personally, I wouldn't have been able to figure out those characters and things without having the trust that I knew people would join me in the scene. You know what I mean? Like I think that's where all that comes from for me. So
you guys,
I'm a big team player.
You guys gave me a lesson in all of the years that I had done improv before I'd even started doing it with you guys in particular, and with the other troops in Grand Forks, and then with Second City and all the other stuff that I'd done before that. You guys were the first group I had ever seen and had to learn the dynamics of how to become an actual tight-knit team. I had worked with a loose group of individuals before that had their own thing going on and were trying to, as you said it, impress each other. They were trying to impress each other a lot of times. We were trying to outdo each other in each scene, but I learned a valuable lesson by watching and working with Nine and Numb Fargo, with you guys in particular, on how to get a group of people with completely different backgrounds and philosophies together and watch them mesh and become a strong team on and off stage. Because you guys got along beautifully off stage as well, which was another thing that I'd never seen before because, improvers.
Right.
And I carried that philosophy on years after so that we could try and have more success later. And that I took those lessons that I learned with you guys, watching you work together, and move them into the new troops that we have. Now, I call them new. They've been around 9 years. But, I brought that philosophy in with this group, and it has worked out beautifully. So you guys, I'll say this, you had an impact on Nine and Numb as a whole that cannot be denied, that cannot be lessened in any way. It is so huge how you guys had a huge impact on my philosophy as a player as well. Yeah. So it was a wonderful experience working with you guys. It really was. I learned from you guys. Didn't just dictate, but learned from you guys. Yeah. And it was wonderful. So I will ask you guys this next question then. So how have you been handling the current pandemic? The being at home, the not being able to perform in front of people, and the wondering when you're ever going to get back to it. Each one of you can take that one individually if you want. And so what have you been doing during pandemic, and what are you hoping for in the end?
Let's see. Well, I've been working still. I'm an essential worker for my day job. Mm-hmm. So my partner, she works at a hospital, so we're both quite busy with just normal work, which has been great and not great at the same time. As far as performance-wise, it's been tough. Improv completely shut down just because, can't really. So we've been slowly discussing what we could possibly do. I know for our theater company, we've been a little bit more actively trying to figure out possibilities of things to do in the future, and starting to make moves with that. But it's been personally, it's been tough not being able to perform or do as much. There's a little small part of me that's like, oh, thank God I got a break.
I know. Believe me.
There's those years where you go nonstop, day in, day out, and you need a break. Luckily, for theater, we had just closed a show right before COVID became a big thing, so we kind of had that little bit of a addiction hit right there. And we were starting to get stuff going with Last Action Movie as far as shows again, and kind of put a little wrench in it, but and with festivals obviously not happening, that also kind of slows things down. So it's been challenging. I feel like I'm finally at a point now where it's all coming back into view.
Starting to come back, I guess. Max, what's your take on that?
I echo a lot. I'm not working, obviously, as a member of the restaurant industry. It's obviously going to be the thing to come back the latest, just because of how much contact there is and whatnot. It's tough it's going to be a while, which is fine. Because I don't get people sick, and I want people to stay healthy. That's my main prerogative. It's you try to do some Zoom shows. Maybe you get together with some friends virtually like this, and it's good in a format like this because we're all in different locations. But in terms of trying to do like a show, it's tough. I think the thing that gets me through, I know for us as a group that Matt and I are involved in, we stay connected at least through like messaging, just saying how everyone's doing. Mm-hmm. You just kind of bunker down and hang tight, It's not a forever thing, right? So we know that's for sure. But so I think echoing Matt's idea for a break, I didn't realize how much I needed it until it first started. And now I think we've been away from it long enough where we've gotten that little breather. We've come up with some ideas, starting to get a little itchy. You know what I mean? Like it's time to get back to it. And I think when we come back, people are going to show just how much they enjoyed it before it was gone. You know what I mean? I think the audience is going to be there. The folks are ready for, a good time. I know the participants, not just myself, but the Twin Cities community will be ready to do that. So I think I hold on to that idea, and I just know that we're kind of hunkering down and, just stay in touch and make sure people are doing okay. And that's kind of been the focus for.
That's good. Bill, how about you? What have you been doing during this pandemic? How have you been coping with the whole thing?
Yeah, it was kind of difficult for me. I work in the pawn industry, pawn shop industry.
Yes, you do. In fact, check this out. I remember I walked into your store because you messaged me about you had one of these on you. And I happened to be in North Dakota at the time. I'm like, hold that for me. I got to get it. So, I walked in there and I talked to you for a little. That was a few years ago now.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were considered a essential business in that we were like a money lending institution, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. I wasn't the boss on that one, but so we didn't shut down. I had the opportunity to work, but I took about a good month off. My 73-year-old mother lives with me.
Okay.
So I didn't want to bring anything home.
Yeah.
But, fortunately, I have a small LLC where I buy and sell Magic the Gathering cards.
Wow.
I'm a huge nerd. I've got a
nice
card on my wrist, and you can see behind me shelves and shelves of boxes.
Yeah,
those are filled with Magic cards, and my entire room here is filled with Magic cards.
Oh my
God!
God!
I have a room below me that's filled with Magic cards. I have about a million.
Whoa!
I'm not even joking.
Whoa, dude!
A million Magic cards.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know what it's like to have a room full of your geek passion. I have no idea of what that's like. No clue. So I get it. Don't worry, I get it. But I'm not selling anything. I should be. But yeah, nice.
So that's what I did. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up then, guys. It has been phenomenal talking with you guys again. Hopefully we might be able to get together and do this again one more time before the year is out. And because I've got to talk to 4 or 5 other iterations of Nine and Numb to try and gather together in one spot again. And did you guys know this? That over 20 years, this is a fun fact, we have had over 125 players. Since 2000 to 2020, over 125 people have been a part of Nine and Numb.
Wow.
And trying to keep track of any of them has been just, some I haven't seen in 20 years, too. And they're not on Facebook, they're not on social media in any capacity. I hear rumors floating around like, oh, he's in Phoenix? Maybe I better try and start there and see where he's at, So hopefully we can get together again and have some of the folks that weren't able to make it tonight, and we could share some more stories about your time in Nine and Numb Fargo. So again, I want to thank you guys very much for coming out for this. A quick note to our viewers for Nine and Numb, we have our first online show coming up here on Friday the 12th, which is called Nine and Numb Live from Exile. It's going to be on Facebook Live. Make sure you check it out. We'll have a Facebook event page. It's already set up, so you can go and check that out. And until then, thank you again to all of you guys from Fargo here, and have yourselves a fantastic night.